In the last year or so, there has been talk about the federal government actually starting to provide funds for operating expenses for transit agencies, or providing increased flexibility. So there was a bill last year that was introduced by Carnahan in the Senate, which basically asked the federal government to provide increased flexibility so that urban areas over 200,000 could actually use some of their federal capital funds for transit to flex it over to cover operating losses, which is a key issue, because as both Esperanza talked about and Denny, transit agencies across the country are facing major deficits right now, which has resulted in them cutting service and increasing fares. That has a decent amount of possibility passing the next federal transportation bill. Basically because it doesn't require the federal government to give any more funds to local agencies. It provides them more flexibility. The other bill, which is introduced by Senator Dodd, actually proposed an emergency transit operations funding to backfill some of the losses that transit agencies have been going through. So along with our organization and our partners, what we're really asking for in this next federal bill is performance metrics, strategic planning, so that as you use this money over 20-year time frames, you would set a goal for reducing congestion, reducing delay, reducing air pollution, increasing bicycling and walking and transit trips. This would actually help transit agencies, or ensure that incentivize them to design systems in such a way that would maximize ridership, maximize access to populations of low income, disadvantaged populations. It would look at the entire network, not just your rail lines and your bus lines, but also your biking and walking facilities, and integrate all of these seamlessly, because without any one of those components, if you can expand the breadth and access of transit systems by expanding bicycling and walking facilities. So that's really what we're asking for in the next bill, and we actually think we could actually get some of these measures in there. On the state level, there's a couple things, and most of this comes from Transform. My organization doesn't take positions on the state level, but we do work with our partners who do. So on the state level, as you all know, the budget process is ongoing. The very positive thing for transit was that this year's proposed budget does not include any more cuts for transit. It would keep it flat at $330 million. But of course, given the process of the budget in the state level, we know that it could collapse. The measures to extend some tax revenues have to go before the Board of Voters, at least that's the governor's plan. If this fails, all things are back on the table. So transit cuts could be back on the table. The unfortunate thing about that would be that there's not a real whole lot left to cut. $330 million isn't a lot.
Transit advocates here in Los Angeles, I think, face three main challenges. The first is road repairs. The flat gas tax isn't going to cut it. I'll go into that a little bit more. The second is ADA services. As our population ages, we're going to have exponential growth in paratransit service that we will have to provide. We will be mandated to do so. And finally, I think our third challenge is making sure the bottom doesn't fall out of the 30-10 plan. Los Angeles County, the MTA controls a whopping 70% of the public transportation investment that is made by Los Angeles County. We get a portion of federal gas taxes, state gas taxes, and we also have 3 half-cent sales taxes and another quarter-cent TDA. This is a massive mandate by the voters to do transit and to do transportation. We are the best funded transportation agency in the nation. I think it's safe to say. The transit emphasis of our taxes is an attempt to overcome the massive automobile subsidy that is in place already. If you think about all the streets and roads, all the land that takes, and all the free parking you can get, including today here at the California Endowment, you realize that what transit is fighting is a massive subsidy of the automobile. We're never going to be able to overcome that. Right now, for every transit boarding, we're paying over $2 to get that person on the bus. The subsidy to the automobile is even greater, I'm sure of it. I don't have figures on that, but if you add in the land value and the free parking, it can't be overcome.
I just want to really thank everyone for participating. It was really lively, enlightening, and I want to thank the panel.